All right, it is Tuesday, June 9th, and I am here with the lovely, the talented, the very, very funny Sheryl Underwood. Welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me back. You know, when I was here last time, I knew The View was big, right? But I didn't know that appearing on The View was going to change my life. There's no place. I was walking down Times Square right after we did it live. People were walking up, talking to me, when are you coming back? And I have to tell people, I just want to be able to, I want to be like a rotating guest host. You know, when somebody's working on another project or something, that's what I want to do. I want to be part of the family.
Well, you're always welcome. And I have to say, people really responded to you when you were guest hosting. We were going through a lot of different guest hosts, and everyone brought different things. But I heard from a lot of fans that really loved you. I'm sure part of that is missing you from being on the talk for all that time. Because even though the shows were kind of competitors, we were on. You could watch both because we were on at different times of days, and I think a lot of people did. Is the View experience very different sitting at our table versus the talk experience?
I think I wouldn't say so different. It's more it's a different type of fun. It's like, okay, so what's your favorite food? What do you love?
I like Italian.
Italian food, okay.
Right.
So would you eat Italian food every day if you could?
Probably.
Okay, but then you eat different types of Italian food.
Yes, I need a little variety.
That's right.
What it is.
And one thing about the talk, I remember when I first got there, they said, well, we don't do politics.
Right.
And as I kept listening to the topics that were selected, I said, you do politics, you just don't do it the way they do it, right? And I think that being here, the fun of the difference is the camaraderie, the sisterhood, the friendship, the family atmosphere that even the guests enjoy. No matter who you're talking to, they're guests in your home. So it changed my life, and I want to thank everybody that put their fingers to a keyboard, and all of the social media and all of the radio stations and TV stations that said, hey, we're glad to see you back in daytime.
How about that? It's so interesting, and I'm appreciative of it, and I hear that from other people. I was saying to you off camera, for some reason, people notice when someone's on The View, and they pop up in their mind a little bit more. And it's nice that in 2026, when they're talking about how network television is not what it used to be and everything else, it still has this kind of impact.
And see, what I want people to understand is you need network television, you need local TV, you need terrestrial radio, but you need satellite. And social media is great, but it's in addition to.
Right.
This comes into your home. It's the soundtrack of your lives. When I turn on my TV and I'm watching whatever the lineup is and get to The View, and then I get all the way down to General Hospital, I've had a great day off. So for me, I would want us to fight for that and fight for the ability to stay on the air, on the public airwaves. But also, I'd like for businesses to understand you want to advertise here as well. And people say, well, why do you talk about advertisement? McDonald's advertised like they just opened. Coca-Cola advertised like they just made a batch. We need the companies. We need the integration. We need the money and the revenue to come in so we can continue to make the content.
Absolutely. It's funny, you're talking about on the talk how, you know, you guys didn't do politics in a straightforward way. You didn't talk about candidates necessarily and things like that. But you talked about things in society and culture that were political in some way, or culture war kind of stuff and things like that. And it's funny because The View, I think, wasn't always as political as it is now, but it's almost because the culture's changed so much that people, it's hard to have conversations with anybody without politics getting into it these days. Don't you find that?
Absolutely. But don't you think that I think The View had an impact on every other show? If you watch Abby Phillips' show, it's a version of The View.
I think
All things are versions of The View. So when Barbara Walters had her idea and then you were putting people together to see how they dovetail and they fit, you know, I think the politician, somebody's got to ask the question that the American viewer or even the international viewer goes, ask him this, ask her this. You know, and I think, I would hope that we never get to a point where somebody can't come on the show and be questioned, you know, but then also they will want to come on the show. If you want to speak to your constituency.
Well, that's the thing. And I think there's, and you know this, there's no audience that's more loyal or intent than the daytime audience.
Absolutely.
They come there, they want to learn, they want to laugh, they want to understand things, and they want to hear different points of view. And I know from watching our show that when something big happens in the world, people tune in, and it's because they want to hear what Whoopi and Joy and Sunny and Sarah and Alyssa and Anna think about it.
Yeah, what are the ladies of The View going to say about this? I cannot wait.
Yes.
So you're watching your evening news, and then you're wondering, what are the women of The View going to say? Or what guest hosts are they going to have?
Right.
And then even the guests come in, and they're excited about it. You know you have a great talk show when the guests go, it's over? My segment is over? Why? Because they're happy to be here. No one wants to be attacked on live TV. Public speaking is the most nerve-wracking thing to do.
I'm in awe of people that can do it the way you do it and everything else, especially stand-up. My goodness.
Absolutely. But when you can do it with your friends and impart some wisdom or some type of way of thinking, I think it brings people together. And I hope you stay on long after this.
God willing, I got kids going to college in a couple of years. Speaking of the talk, the last time you were here, you talked a little bit about Sharon Osbourne and your relationship and the idea that you were hopeful that something might lead somewhere.
I'm still hoping for you.
I was going to ask, has anything happened there? Have you heard anything?
I've had a few people with the Netflix roast of Kevin Hart being so big. I've had a few people talk to me about, are you still interested in that? I would love to talk to not just Sharon, but the Osbourne family, because there's a part. This is a family thing. When you're sitting with someone 5 days a week, even if you're recording something, but it's essentially 5 to 7 days a week. I'd love to talk to her. I still believe you all with Howard Stern. I think that's a great cross promotion.
I certainly like it. Yeah.
Because I think that Sharon, first of all, she is a genuine soul. Let's just say that. And people say, well, why would you want to talk to her? If I can sit next to Tony Hinchcliffe on a roast.
Well, we're going to get into that.
Okay. Because what we've got to learn is how to be a better humanitarian, a better diplomat. So I am not against sitting down with Sharon, and time plus distance equals clarity. So I think it would be great, and it would be great television, and I think the country would love to see us talk to each other and get it out in the open.
I think so too.
And come back together.
I think so too. Even if it's a hard conversation, it'd have a good ending, I think.
It would but it'd have to be, you guys would have to make that call. I don't know if I have current numbers or information, and I'm always afraid to leave a voicemail because, one, you could be leaving it with the wrong person.
Right.
And two, it could be misinterpreted.
I understand. I think you're right. All right. Well, let's dive back into this Kevin Hart thing for a second, because this roast was, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I enjoy roasts.
What part did you like the best?
Oh, I thought Pete Davidson was pretty great.
Yes.
I thought you were fantastic.
Yes.
I thought what we said on the show, Nikki, Chelsea, fantastic. And it's funny, female comics and roasts, I feel like for a long time, roasts were the opportunity for female comics to get seen and get big. And it seemed like it was a rocket ship for a long time for a lot of female comics going back. I remember that's actually where I first heard about Nikki Glaser and people like that.
Yes.
I know Amy Schumer did a few and things like that.
That's right.
And I think you came out of this as one of the stars and
changed my life again.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad good things are happening. Yeah. But Tony Hinchcliffe at this show told some jokes that many people found inappropriate.
Yes.
And I think people's tolerance for what a roast is and what their expectation is varies from person to person. Let's start the joke you made about your husband's suicide.
Well, they told me they were going to.
I was curious.
Well, so there was a Netflix is a joke brunch at Ted Sarando's house. Ted and his lovely wife, Sister Avon. They had their home is beautiful, by the way. Food was amazing.
I would imagine.
So they had a brunch. Everybody was there. Wanda Sykes, Jerry Seinfeld. There's pictures of me and Dave Chappelle and Eddie Murphy. So
my old boss Letterman was there.
Absolutely. He was there. And matter of fact, I got a chance to just say hi to him and Jon Stewart. It's a place. The great part is you got a chance to see comics. It was like a convention of comics.
That's great.
At a brunch, everybody laughing and talking.
And everyone knowing each other, and it was calm because it wasn't like fans and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. I had a chance to talk to John Mulaney. Yes.
Yeah.
And we got a chance to hug and talk. And what was great was you don't know how many people know you as your colleague.
Sure.
So I'm a fan of theirs. They're a fan of mine. So Tony Hinchcliffe walks up to me, and he said, "Sheryl, I'm Tony Hinchcliffe." I said, "Yeah." And I said, "How you coming?" Because I had already heard some things. And he said, "Well, I'm going to talk about your husband's suicide and you being raped."
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. So and I think some people's expectation is anger. So, but I understand what a roast is,
right,
and how they roast nowadays. I was in the audience when they roasted Cat Williams, but it wasn't as hardcore as it was when the Tom Brady roast, and then you get the Kevin Hart's roast. So I said, Tony, he said, well, what do you think? I said, you better be funny, or I'm gonna get your ass. If you ain't funny, you know. And so he said, well, what about your husband? Same thing, Shane Gillis. So Shane calls me and said, I just want to talk to you about it. And I said, listen, it's got to be funny. If it's not funny, let's start there, right? I want the world to know, had they did those jokes when my husband had just died, I think I'd be more sensitive about it. My husband's been dead for a while. A lot of people say you don't do jokes about the dead. I disagree. You don't do bad jokes about the dead. Now, for people that are upset about the George Floyd joke, again, I think Pete Davidson represented the Cookout Coalition with the Charlie Kirk joke, which was a great joke about Tony Hinchcliffe and I can't say it here, but it was a very adult joke. But it's why I said what I said. Free speech is alive and well. You may not agree, but what did it do? It produced content, television talk shows, radio talk shows, time spent listening, viewers watching. People could see themselves reflected in that discussion. For the George Floyd joke, whether it was funny or not, Tony now has to deal with people who love. That. That's right. Yeah. That's the issue. Can you take what happens when you walk outside of this roast and deal with people who love George Floyd, or those of us in the community, or if somebody gonna throw hands, right? And for people that expected us to do something right in the moment, why is no one asking the question, who cleared a George Floyd joke?
So my question for you is, I understand, because I've spent a lot of time around comedians. You guys are built different. You just are, and there's an understanding. Now, if you had said to Tony or Shane, that's not cool with me, do you think the joke would have been told?
I think one thing I wanted to prove is that I had a thicker skin.
Yeah, no, I understand it.
And then when I asked Nikki Glazer at the brunch, I said, how they coming? They said, oh, they coming for you. And I was like, me? But then I thought, show a reflection of, I can take this joke.
And you gave it back.
That's right. And I'm going to give it back to you. I'm going to let you know who I am and why I'm here. And I was praying, God, give me words. Give me at least a couple of things that are not on that prompter that I have to say, not just for the room, because that's why I said it's in the forum. You're going to respect us. Right. But also for the world, for the people that are watching going, come on, Sheryl, get them. They've been telling these jokes. Now, for people that said it was racist, of course, for if you are not black and you are telling those jokes, of course, but it's to press a button. Everybody that didn't watch it live now got Netflix or watched it or kept watching clips of it. But if I had said, don't tell the joke, I'm not a comic that believes I should tell a comic what not to say.
I know that. Yeah.
Now, I will say, might you consider? Or I would say, ugh. When I did Kill Tony, I went to Austin. I flew to Austin. I did Shane Gillis's podcast, and I learned a lot about him, about what he, how he thinks and what he likes. And he's a really nice guy. But people do dwell in that kind of humor. Back in the day, Paul Mooney was walking white people. Very funny, but walking white people out. In the beginning of my career, I was telling jokes that were walking groups of people out of my show, but they were great jokes. But back to going to do Kill Tony, and I was talking to him, and I was wearing a Nat Turner T-shirt. And there was a reason why I wanted to wear it. So I asked Tony, I said, would you record something with me? And he was like, I'm not sure. But some people don't want to revisit something to reconsider. You grow your audience by understanding, you can tell the joke, but there's a responsibility. And then there's an accountability to it. I would like to tell the world, I think Tony Hinchcliffe is one of the greatest villains in comedy now. A funny guy who's a villain, don't you think?
Yeah, and you said that on the show, and I hadn't thought about it until you did. Yeah. That's absolutely right. He is a villain. I mean, there are people that are just straight fans, too. Yes. We saw that. But, you know, what he did at the Trump rally with the Puerto Rico joke and things like that, 100%. He's a villain, and that seems to be a choice he's making, I think, too.
Absolutely.
And he's embracing it. Yeah.
I think for everybody that's upset, it's for you to be upset so that you push that algorithm. You got to be typing in your computer. You got to keep watching it over and over again. But if you're upset, be upset about 300,000 black women who lost their job when an administration decided to fire people. Be upset when you lose your right to vote. Be upset when a farmer in Iowa who believed in this president voted for him, and now you're about to lose your farm. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Take that. Don't be mad. Get motivated.
Well, one thing I really enjoyed about it is the fact that people came out of that who maybe hadn't seen you outside of the context of daytime television and said, damn, Sheryl's really funny. I mean, and you are.
They didn't even know. A lot of people only knew me from the talk.
That's the thing.
They didn't know I was a stand-up comic from Def Comedy Jam, BET Comic View. But what it also did, it allowed me, people say, well, you got paid off by getting a special. That's not really what happened. I got invited to a meeting. I pitched an idea to Netflix. They said, okay, we kind of like that idea. How about we start at Netflix as a joke and you doing a spot in the Ice House in Pasadena, a few hundred seats. Me, Kyle Irby, and B.T. Kingsley, we did the show. Now, most people think, you're Sheryl Underwood from daytime television, from this, from that, from that. You're going to do a 100-seater? Yes. If that helps me get in the door with Netflix, then I get in. Agreeing to do that, and then them scheduling me for a small room in Pasadena on a weeknight, a Wednesday after Cinco de Mayo. So then somebody called me and said, would you consider doing the roast? I said, of course I would. Why? Because I'm thinking exposure. Don't know what it pays. Don't know what it is. They won't even tell me who's going to be on the dais.
Right.
They won't tell me anything. We did not know what jokes other people were telling because they didn't want us. We were running the teleprompter to read through the things that we've agreed upon, but I didn't know what people were going to say. But as a comic, if you're not quick enough to answer back and you don't have a good answer back, then you set us all back, especially as black female comics, but just female comics in general. You have to go up there and bring your A game. So I'm saying all of this to say, getting a Netflix special and now being on the road and working out those jokes in the I Need a Job tour, this helps me. Being here on The View helps me pay my bills, develop content, invest in things, because I was on fumes after the talk got canceled. That money's not coming in, but my bills didn't go. My financial responsibilities didn't go away.
I think people think anytime someone's on television, they're set for life, and that's just not what the world is. Yeah.
You have to come to work every day. And you have to come to work, bring your A game and a good spirit, because it's people like you that produce. It's the lighting and the audio and everybody. This is not just my job. This is me keeping everybody else to be able to pay their mortgages.
Absolutely. And you were talking about Netflix. I mean, there really is no more important place for a comic to be than in the door there and get a part of that and show them what you can do for them.
That's right.
By hitting that algorithm and hitting those points that they need. And now you've done it. So congratulations.
And I think that's what they saw. You know, I could tell them anything, but they saw that explosion live.
Absolutely.
But just like here, an explosion live. I'm telling you, I was in a grocery store. When are you going back to The View? When are you going? I said, when they call me. Whenever they call me.
Well, we called.
Yeah. And anytime you need me, I'm willing to come. I love coming. I love sitting in. But what I really want people to know, how thankful to God and our country for allowing me to do something I love with those that I love. Oh. And I was happy to be here with Alyssa, fellow Republicans, talking, and it was great to see her. And let's hope we can get this girls' trip together for Las Vegas to go see Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, that Vegas residency.
That's awesome. No,
and
that was
Sunny
great to have
too.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. All right, switching gears a little bit.
Okay.
Now, you live in Los Angeles, and you referenced this before. The elections that have been happening there have been getting a lot of news. You're a Republican.
Yes.
What did you make of the idea that Spencer Pratt could be the next mayor of Los Angeles?
I think the country's exhausted in some Republican, because I'm considered a rhino to the Republican Party, but some Republican who used to be either a reality show person or whatever you were, and now you want to come into politics. There's only maybe 13 to 18% of Republicans in Southern California and in Los Angeles. So he had a stiff hill to climb. And then you want to do your little AI stuff, and you think that's going to bring the voters out. I think that I don't know. I really was not supportive of his candidacy, but it is unfortunate. I think Karen Bass is a great leader for the city, and I hope that she will understand what the city really needs now, and we give her the chance to be reelected to do what she needs to do. But if the other young lady, was it Rahman?
Yes.
If she gets elected, I hope she doesn't go so far to the left, because we got the Olympics coming and we got
it's a big time for
the World Cup.
California.
Yeah, we got everything coming in through California. I think that somebody needs to talk to Caruso, the developer, and see if we can develop downtown and brings jobs. This is the other thing. I did not really feel confident that Spencer Pratt really could bring the coalition together to bring jobs and production back to Southern California. There's too many people that are out of work. We don't mind flying somewhere to work, but sometimes we want to drive to work and we want to drive home and see our families and sleep in our beds. So whoever becomes the mayor, there's a lot of work to be done, and I hope that we elect the right person to do it.
We talked about this a little bit earlier in the week on the show, the fact that the elections take a little minute in California has made a lot of people jump to the idea that there's some sort of election fraud going on. The idea that
it's only election fraud when you lose.
Well, that does seem to be the case.
When you lose, it's like Casablanca. What was Claude Rains? Was this gambling? And then they bring him his money, right?
Yeah.
So, but to me, here's the thing. I think the process of elections in the state of California, I think it's a good process. Why? You cannot vote without them verifying your identity. So everybody talking about voter ID, unnecessary. They already verify. You have to have that ballot postmarked by election day. And they have little, they look like post office box, but they're not. They're where you can put your ballot
specifically.
Yeah, and you postage is free. So everybody can participate, can vote. And every registered voter gets a ballot sent to them. So if you don't want to vote, it's because either there's a circumstance why you can't, or you just didn't want to vote, but they're trying to increase participation. And I don't think there's fraud. Why? Because you still got to verify. That's why it's taking longer. Our process works. And I think the president and anybody else alluding to the Speaker of the House and anybody saying it's fraud or it looks fishy or something, you're just saying that for clicks.
Right.
You're just saying that in front of the camera, because we could say where you got elected in was fishy if you want us to. And doesn't the president vote by mail?
He does. In Florida, he does. But he says that's different because he's the president.
See, I think that's unfair. And I want people to know California is not as liberal as people think. We're more moderate on things. And there are a lot of...
it's a big state with a lot of different people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
San Joaquin Valley, where I went to high school, more conservative. And for people that talk about, oh, it doesn't work. Okay, Ronald Reagan was the governor and become the president. Okay, so for me... I want people to really cheer us on so we pick the right representatives. And I think the governor race is really great. Steyer came in. He put an influx of his own money, but he also put an influx of discussion in there. I think Hilton might get a shot. But why is nobody talking about the fact that you can be the governor of California and come from somewhere else? I thought we were supposed to be stopping all that. Come from some other country and come in and try to take over America. Okay.
All right.
And
look at Schwarzenegger.
Yes, that's right. I was going to say it, but I'll wait for you to say it.
Sorry, yeah.
And then Javier, I think he could make a good governor, and I would love to see that happen in our country. And I think he's the right temperament to be the governor. While I'm not campaigning for anybody, I want what's best for our state. And I want somebody that's going to bring back jobs in the entertainment business, settle down these ICE issues. This is not what we're about in America. And let's just get back to the business of being Americans while we're celebrating 250 years.
There we go. All right. On that note, listen, since we mentioned it before, I do want to say if you are struggling, help is available. Call the Suicide and Crisis Hotline at 988. And thank you so much for joining me today, Sheryl. This was a lot of fun. I love it. You can see Sheryl all over the country on her I Need a Job tour. Doesn't sound like you're going to need a job for long. Visit her website for tickets at SherylUnderwood.com. Tomorrow, Sheryl will be back on the show, which will be a lot of fun.
Yes, very exciting.
And I'll be back on the podcast with Melissa. We'll see you then.
Yay!
Yay.